What's up, everyone? I was looking at the calendar the other day and I realized I have had my Nitro Z18 for a year. Can you believe that already? It's been a year and a lot of things have changed in a year. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the things that I like about my Nitro Z18. And if I can find any things I don't like, we'll talk about those too. Let's get started right now. All right, first up, we've got the Garmin Force trolling motor. I was telling you guys during the previous video on this that I was trying it out because I wanted everything Garmin. I am pleased to report to you that this thing works great. The foot pedal that is not cable driven, that you can move around, awesome. I think I'm going to replace this little pad here, but it's great. I can move it around the boat. In fact, I was doing that sometime last summer. I had some guests on the boat and I moved the trolling motor around. I let them fish from the front and I just sat in the back with the trolling motor pedal and just moved them around all over the perch that were under us. One thing that I had a little bit of difficulty getting used to with this trolling motor was that it's really sensitive compared to a cable driven motor. Now you can dial that sensitivity around a little bit, but I finally found a point where I was comfortable with it. But the anchor lock on it works great. It talks to the other two Garmin units on the boat great. All in all, I give this thing an A. So I had a user ask me about the front deck space on my boat, and I had to stop and think about that for a moment because it's only a foot longer than my tracker was. But here's the thing about the front deck space. It just seems like there's so much more up here when I'm fishing. And that's because the nose of it widens out a lot faster. That extra 2 or 3 inches that you get out of that actually makes all the difference. One of the things that I've learned though is you got to be really careful about kicking rods off because the gunnel only comes up a couple of inches here. Have to be cognizant of where your rods are at all times. I've compensated for that by making sure that I only have the 3 or 4 rods that I'm using at that moment up on the deck. The rest of them I put toward the back when I'm by myself. We'll talk about that space in a moment. Front deck space though, really good. I love it. Now, if you remember, I was telling you about the rod box, and I'm pleased to report to you that that's been really good there too. I've currently got 8 rods in the box because I've had a couple of rods go down due to wear and tear, had another one down due to accident. That was a little bit embarrassing. But the 10 to 12 rods I had in here were fitting just fine and plenty of room to go around, so no issues there. Very happy with the rod box. All right, the other 2 compartments I use for tackle and accessories. Now, I will tell you that I don't carry as much tackle. I got to stop scratching myself. All right, hold on. Now, the other 2 compartments I use for tackle and accessories. I will tell you that I don't tend to carry as much tackle as most guys. So I could carry more if I wanted to, but I carry all the soft plastics I need, all the terminal tackle I need, and it stays here in the center compartment just fine. My buddy's tackle box, I throw his in here too, and there's still plenty of room left over. Now that I actually live on the lake, am I going to carry more tackle? Probably. Am I going to show you that organization when I'm done with it? Absolutely. But right now, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. I've got more life jackets than I need in here. I've got my boat shoes in here so that I'm not dirtying up my carpet too much with my street shoes. I've got my emergency sweatshirt. I usually have my GoPro Yolotek mount in here too, but that's indoors currently. Again, plenty of space in here, no issues, and everything seems to be great there. All right, so I get asked a lot about the cooler. Does the cooler work great? And the answer is yes. In fact, I got some bottles of water and some Gatorade in there right now. You see the sandwich tray over there? If I had one complaint about this, the sandwich tray is really difficult to get out of there. I've got to really muscle it to get it out. I'd like for that to be a little easier to pop out. But other than that, I think the cooler is great. Temper your expectations. I've heard guys say that it works just as good as their Yeti cooler. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far. But if you want to throw some Gatorades and some waters or maybe some adult beverages in there, fill the thing with ice, and fish for an entire day, even during the summer, it'll do that just fine. All that stuff drains into the bilge and then goes out your boat however the water exits. I want to take a minute to talk about the hot foot. I had never used one in a boat before, and when I did my first video, I was telling you how much I really liked it, and I still really like it. I don't know that I would want a boat ever again, assuming that I ever get another boat without a hot foot in it. It just makes it so much easier to drive and control the boat. The little things like trimming the motor, I can use my Pro Trim lever here to do that. I can keep both hands on the wheel. It's just awesome. Now, top speed I've gotten in this boat, and we'll talk a little bit about that more when we get to the motor. The top speed I've gotten is 56 miles per hour, so it's not like I'm in chine walking territory or anything like that. But if I were, I'd be glad to be having both hands on the wheel. It's just great. So thumbs up on the hot foot. Highly recommend it. Only complaint I have about it is you'll see that the hot foot pedal is all the way up on the mount right now. Now, I suppose that could be changed by moving where you mount the plate on the bottom there, but I have to really stretch in order to get the pedal all the way down. I'm 5'9". I'd say if you were 6 foot or taller, this is a perfect placement for you, but I had to really, really stretch to get the pedal down. So only a little minor complaint there. Storage in the passenger area has been great. Very happy with the storage here. I don't think there's much more I can say about it. It's just nice to have all these things conveniently located for you when you need them. This passenger storage, yeah, you can see Rene giving the thumbs up. I can fit almost my entire arm down into this thing. And it's been great for having guests on the boat who want to bring a bunch of stuff with them. You know, they bring their sunscreen and they bring their phones and they bring all the stuff, and you just throw it in there and it's great. It doesn't interfere with any of the stuff I've already got stored in there. Then we have what I like to affectionately call the prison pocket, which is the passenger rod storage over here. Now, when I'm by myself, what I do is if I have 7 or 8 rods out, I'll take the rods I'm not using at that moment and I'll put them back here. I can know that they're safely stored. They're not going to go anywhere. If I decide to move spots, I just strap them down and no problems whatsoever. If I've got guests on the boat, they want to bring 2 or 3 rods of their own, they go in there instead. Everybody's got a place to put their stuff. So storage has been awesome. One more thing about these consoles, because I mentioned to you that this passenger console was a special request from Rene. I've discovered that these windscreens are engineered to deflect the air upward. So I can sit, and I'm going to close this, I can sit here and I can drive the boat and I can wear my hat normally and not get it blown off by the wind. Now, if you're one of those guys who's like 6'8" or something like that, that may not be very good for you. That windscreen is not going to deflect that from you. Also, I have found out the hard way. You've got to be really careful about turning your head around all different directions while that's happening. That's a good way to lose a hat. But if you're just sitting here facing forward and you're a normal sized dude like me, these windscreens will deflect the breeze and you don't have to take your hat off or move your hat around or anything like that. One more thing. One of the things that I appreciate about Nitro boats is they've got the little attention to detail things for anglers, right? For instance, I don't like to be carrying my phone in my pocket. If I start to get active, phone falls out of my pocket, bounces on the deck, falls overboard. Nitro boats come with the RAM mount for your phone, so you don't have to worry about that. Here's another thing about placement that's really great. Because of where this RAM mount is located, I can switch my phone on And I can use the GoPro app to actually control my GoPro on the back of the boat from right here at my console. I can't tell you how convenient that's become for me ever since I got my Yolotek GoPro mount. And that's what's helped me get some of the great footage you've seen in my previous videos. Another thing for anglers that probably nobody but an angler would think of is the net storage. If you've seen my Learn My Lake episode 6 video, which should have been out before you see this, you'll see I got a really nice largemouth off a dock, and I had to come back here and get this net by myself. All I had to do, unstrap, grab it, boom, net. And I could do that with one hand while I was controlling the fish with the other hand. Without this design by Nitro, would have never got that done, so props to them for that. Finally, back here at the business end of the boat, we've got Mercury Pro XS 150. I just got it serviced. Shout out to Public Marine LLC in Lugoff, South Carolina, by the way. And so far, this motor's been great. Not a single problem with it. Took it through the break-in sequence. Actually forgot to do the 20-hour service after break-in. Didn't realize I needed to do that. But the guys at Public Marine LLC took care of me. You'll see that I've got the jack plate here, and I talked to you a little bit about whether or not I was going to get power poles for this boat. One thing I have found that is a weakness is that if you don't have power poles and you like to fish docks and you've got to hold position, and the wind's blowing the wrong way, it's going to make it really difficult. For instance, if I'm hitting the upwind side of a dock, but I need to point the boat directly at the dock, it becomes really difficult. The trolling motor spot lock isn't going to help you there, because what's going to happen is the back of the boat's going to swing around. But as long as you're in the correct GPS coordinate, it doesn't matter. So there is a good chance, well, not necessarily a good chance, there is a greater than 0 chance that at some point I'm going to want to mount power poles back here. Now that I have a garage that I can back into without too much trouble, I don't think it'll be a difficult deal. I think I'll still get the ones with the fold down brackets anyway, just to be sure. But as far as the motor goes, everything's been great. Here at the back of the boat, see, everything is still really clean, and this is the part of the boat that normally gets really dirty. Gel coat is great, everything's fine. I got the Live to Fish cover here so that these cables don't scratch the inside of the gel coat here. That's been great too. Overall, really happy with the Z18. Couple of minor complaints. It still is a little light in heavy wind, but the GPS spot lock works really great. I was able to sit in about 20-25 mile/hour winds back on Lake Wylie during the spring. Just activated the spot lock and it held me there, although I did bounce around a lot more than I would have liked. But it's been a great boat. I'm happy with it, and I'm looking forward to bringing you more adventures on it. Hope you'll hang with me, and I'll catch you in the next video.